If we were to consider our success on COVID-19 as just having a low number of cases, that's not good enough. And that's not what our government is seeking to achieve, and I don't believe it's what the National Cabinet is seeking to achieve either. We have had great success in flattening our curve, that's obvious. But having a low number of cases, but having Australians out of work, having a low number of cases and children not receiving in-classroom education, having a low number of cases and businesses not being open, having a low number of cases and Australians not able to be going about their as normal of lives as possible. That's not what success looks like. This is the success we're seeking, to be able to have the protections in place to enable Australians to go back to as normal a life and an economy as possible, and to be able to achieve that as soon as we possibly can. And so it's important that we remain focused on the challenge ahead. We don't want to just win the battle against COVID-19, but lose a broader conflict when it comes to our economy and the functioning of our society. That's why we remain focused on the road ahead, the road back, the restoration of key elements of our economy, and to ensure that the broader health needs of Australians are also being addressed. Christine Morgan is joining me here today and will provide you with a presentation on issues relating to mental health as we go through the COVID-19 crisis. As you know, this was a matter that we raised very early in the piece and provided additional support, and I particularly commend also the state and territory governments for the way they've responded to the mental health challenges here. But it is important to understand that there are so many elements of Australians' health that we need to continue to attend to. Looking after our COVID-19 health is only one of many parts of our health. Our mental wellbeing, ensuring that our screenings continue to take place for the very many different diseases and other things that we need to continue to screen for, that individuals, Australians, families stay in contact with their GPs to address their broader health issues. Elective surgery has recommenced for that very purpose as well, for the many important surgeries that need to take place for Australians who have been suffering because of the restrictions that had previously been in place. And so we are looking at what the bigger picture success is when it comes to COVID-19. And we are working to all of that together as a national cabinet. Our own cabinet here at a Commonwealth level will be meeting again today, as we do every week, to ensure we're focused on all elements of the recovery and the road back. And it's important to understand that on the road back, when we get to that COVID-safe environment where we can ease those restrictions, which is not too far away, and you're already seeing that happen with many of the states and territories, as I said they would over this interim period before we get together in the week beginning the 11th of May and consider the baseline restrictions. States are already moving back from where they were ahead of those baselines, and you've seen those announcements, whether it's in New South Wales or Western Australia or other places, and that's welcome, and I think that demonstrates to Australians that there is a dividend for them for the way that they have been conducting themselves. Sure, there's been some rather high-profile examples of those who haven't done that, and I think Australians have expressed their views on that pretty candidly. But in the main, I think Australians have been doing the right thing, and that's why they are seeing some easing of those restrictions. But when we move back into this more COVID-safe economy and society, it's important to know that with the easing of those restrictions, of course there will continue to be additional cases. Of course there will be outbreaks. That's what living with the virus will be like. That's why the protections that we put in place for a COVID-safe Australia are so important. Now, I can report that 2.8 million downloads and registrations have taken place already for the app, and I thank those 2.8 million Australians for doing just that. And I'd ask for millions and millions and millions more to do the same thing. This is an important protection for a COVID-safe Australia. I would liken it to the fact that if you want to go outside, when the sun's shining, you've got to put sunscreen on. This is the same thing. Australians want to return to community sport. If you want to return to a more liberated economy and society, it's important that we get increased numbers of downloads when it comes to the COVIDSafe app. This is the ticket to ensuring that we can have eased restrictions and Australians can go back to the lifestyle and the many things that they previously were able to do. And this is important. So if you've downloaded the app, thank you very much. Convince 2 or 3 more people that haven't downloaded the app to do the same thing. Now, we are unable to give you breakdowns of what ages of people have downloaded the app or what states they're from, because all of that information is locked in the National Data Store. And as you know, that is not information that is available to the Commonwealth Government or the state governments. That is the protection we have put in place. So we would encourage all Australians, if you want to see us return to the more eased restrictions that I know you're looking forward to and that I'm looking forward to, that it is important that you download the COVIDSafe app. That is your ticket. That is Australia's ticket to a COVIDSafe Australia, where we can go about the things that we love doing once again. I can also note that more than 800,000 job seeker claims have now been processed. That number will be well in advance of that by the end of today. It was just over 790,000 last night. And also earlier this week, the $550 job seeker supplement is now being paid, and that's rolling out over the course of this week. I can also note that the government has been working closely with the aged care sector and aged care consumer groups, including the Council on the Ageing, towards developing an industry code of conduct for supporting visitations to aged care facilities. You'll be aware of the strong views the National Cabinet and I have expressed in ensuring that residents of aged care facilities are not shut away and that they do have access to their loved ones and their carers and others who provide support to them. There are, of course, legitimate reasons why there would be restrictions at aged care facilities, particularly and obviously in places where there have been outbreaks. That's sensible, that's safe, that's to be expected. But the norm should be, as the National Cabinet has set out in the health advice that they adopted some weeks ago now, and it is the intention for that to be incorporated into an industry code of conduct, and we're making good progress on that, and I would hope that we'd be in a position to have that finalised hopefully by the end of the week. But I thank the aged care sector for their cooperation and their engagement in pursuing that together with the Aged Care Minister, Richard Colbeck, and I thank them and all the aged care workers all across the country for the work that they are doing, caring for our most vulnerable Australians. And we need to ensure that we keep them safe, but we keep them connected, because that's good for their health as well.